On this special episode of the Conscious Leader Circle, I'm honored to speak with Dr. Joe Vitale about his inspirational new movie, Zero Limits, and learn more about how he has achieved his dreams, attracted miracles, and continues to live a limitless life in his 70s and beyond. Dr. Joe Vitale is a motivational legend and a great conscious leader of our time. Author of over 95 books, recorded over 15 music albums, is a strong man who can bend horseshoes and steel, and now mixed martial arts master, president of the Napoleon Hill Institute, recipient of the U.S. President Lifetime Achievement Award, and recipient of the LA Tribune Lifetime Achievement Award. A star in the hit movie The Secret, 15 other movies, and the new movie Zero Limits. The uplifting and empowering Zero Limits movie is a global movement. It has already been nominated for over 24 international film festivals and won 11 awards. And we all know this is only the beginning. I'm truly honored to be featured in it. The red carpet premiere of Zero Limits movie is June 26th in Sacramento, California. And you can get tickets and learn more about it at zerolimitsmovie.com. And I think you mentioned, Joe, that the movie is meant to be released around October of 2025. Is that correct?
Yes, on Amazon, Apple TV, and other streaming resources around the world, but later in the year, yes.
Very exciting, very exciting. So, wow, welcome and thank you, Dr. Joe Vitale, for being with us today and for truly leading us through this incredible paradigm shift of expanding consciousness as we move forward together in the human collective. I absolutely love quotes, so I'm going to get started talking about the Zero Limits movie with a quote from you from the movie. So you not only ask, are there any limits in the movie, but you take us on this incredible journey of discovering that we can turn challenges into opportunities, that we can turn lead into gold, that we are creators, and that we can turn impossible into possible. And here you say, I get I'm very touched and emotional when I read this. I actually believe all desires are being given to us by the very God force that wants us to solve them. Why does this divine want me to explore zero limits and take people to that area? So people discover the divine. This exploration is taking us to a personal awakening. And as each of us awaken, the whole planet can awaken. Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you for
wow is
that.
right. That is in the movie, and I believe that, and I'm living that, and I'm teaching that. So it's a great place to start.
Yes. And when you receive divine inspiration and guidance, what does that feel like to you? Because sometimes when people are first connecting with that, they're not sure, is it a divine download? Or is it my thoughts? Is it my own projectionism? Can you share a little bit with us about how you first started to know that difference and how you discern it now?
That's a wonderful question. In the beginning, you don't really know because you can't really tell the difference. You don't have discernment. You don't have the experience of listening to an ego thought or a divine thought. The best way around it is to assume that all of it is from the divine and then to explore it, then to pursue it to get a sense of, does this feel like it's more of a spiritual experience? Does it feel like it's benefiting me and others? I've learned over time that if I receive an idea for a product, a service, a book, a music, whatever, if I have the sense that it's only for me and my enjoyment, well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's probably more of an egoic, individual kind of an exploration. But if I want to do something to make a difference in my life and at least a few other people's lives, if not hundreds to thousands to millions, then I probably have more of a divine assignment coming in. But again, when you first start doing this, you don't really know. You're doing your best and you're on training wheels. So when you get an idea, does it feel like it's coming from the divine? Does it feel like it's coming from the flesh? And again, it's not a right or wrong issue. It's more of a learning experience. And we value the divine more than we value the flesh. Again, not right or wrong, not dismissing, trying not to be judgmental here. And at the same time, trying to say, let's always take the high road, even when the ideas start coming in and sense our way through it all.
Well, thank you for that. And it's really a time of merging the spiritual and the material.
Hmm.
And from my readings of ancient texts, this is part of the both the challenge and the birth of expanded consciousness of humanity
Hmm.
to hold that sacred divine energy in the material plane
Hmm.
as we expand and grow into who we're meant to be, the high spiritual beings that we are. Now, in
Yeah.
your experiences, have you ever had multidimensional experiences or anything like a near death experience?
I have had past live experiences. I mean, we're talking about 50 some years ago, if not 60 years ago, and remembering those. At this point, though, in my life, I have to be very, I don't know, sometimes I say I practice tough love. And so this is the Dr. Joe being real with you. And being real with you means a lot of that parallel world, past life, multi-dimension are ways to distract yourself from the divine trying to live through you. It's very easy for us to live as if we're in a carnival. And the carnival goes, oh,
Mhm.
look at the sideshow over here. You had a past life. Oh, how interesting. There's another sideshow. It's a hall of mirrors. Then you walk down that one and you start going, oh, wow, there's different dimensions here. There's the first dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension. Wow, there's even a fifth dimension. And suddenly you are no longer in the moment and you're no longer expressing divinity through you in the moment. My
Mhm.
work and my plea and my pointing is to the realization that we're not even merging with spirituality. We are awakening to the spiritual that's already there within us.
Right.
I actually go and say, look, there's no real difference between the material and the spiritual. They're two sides of the same coin. It's like if I held up any denomination, a coin of 50 cents in America or somewhere else, and said, oh, the head side is better than the other side. Or I would say the tail side is better than the head side. Like, give me a break. You need both. It's a coin.
Mhm.
And we need
Mhm.
both in our day by day living experience in order to be whole. So I don't
Mhm.
usually play, I did, but I don't usually play the sideshow kind of carnival spirituality experience and get dazzled with distractions. I'm doing my best to be in the moment.
Wonderful. That's a lot of clarity for us and
Oh,
and
good.
and and how you live your passion and soul mission on the
Hmm.
earth. And in the movie, you mentioned the zero limits with the concept of getting to zero,
Yes.
or 0 point.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that with us? That's a very
Yeah, I would love to.
fascinating place of sort of emptiness, or I like
Yeah.
to say from nothingness, all is created. We have be the empty vessel.
Hmm. What I'm saying is that at zero, there are no boundaries and there are no limits and there are no beliefs. Zero is wide open. And when we are at
Mhm.
zero, we have available to us the power, the energy, the consciousness to do, to have, to be anything. And when I say anything, I mean anything. Because
Mhm.
at zero, there aren't the limits, there aren't the boundaries, there aren't the limiting beliefs that say, oh, I can't do that because, and then we have a reason. All of those becauses, all of those reasons, all of those excuses do not live at the 0 point. The 0 point is the field of all possibilities. And it's a tough one for us to even imagine, because when we start to imagine what it would be like, we still are bringing in our unconscious limitations. When we're born, we get downloaded all kind of beliefs from the culture, from our parents, from the media, from everything. Depending on where you grow up, you got all those beliefs that are going into you. And so at some point, when you're an adult and you start to learn about the secret or law of attraction or ho'oponopono or zero limits, and you want to flex your muscles, so to speak, and find out what you can have, do, or be, you still have some unconscious limitations because you've been living from them and you're not aware they're even there. What I'm saying at zero is even those are gone. At zero, you have the availability of everything and every possibility. And this is what I've been doing my best to prove in my own life. I'm in my 70s, and you listed a few things that I've done, and I'm still poking at the walls of what's possible to find out, like, yeah, they say you can't do that. Is that really true? So I'm pushing against it, and this is what I want the movie to do and the concept of zero to do. I want it to inspire people, to get them to ask themselves, well, what would I do and how would I live if I really didn't have any limits?
Yes. Well, this is part of the huge paradigm shift that we're in,
Mhm.
and the critical role that and who you are, and as a truly motivational legend and great conscious leader of our time, to help us become aware, to even try to expand the possibilities
Yes.
of who we are.
Yeah.
And we need this leadership at this time as
Mm.
we go through this incredible paradigm shift. Now, with
Mm.
all the things that you've accomplished and that you're doing, would you consider yourself a Renaissance man?
I don't think I've ever been asked that. No, I don't think of myself as a Renaissance man. I don't think of myself as unusual or special or different. I'm a guy who is pursuing his passions, whatever has interested me and still interests me. And in so doing, I'm also exploring, as another passion, do we have any limits? And if we have some limits that most people say are there, are those actually true? So I'm more of a curious man. I'm curious about life. I'm curious about what's possible. I'm curious about what we can do. I'm curious about what I can do. I mean, my God, I'm in my 70s and I started mixed martial arts, and I've already announced I want to have my black belt by the time I'm 75, if not sooner. And all of
Awesome.
this is not a Renaissance guy. It's a guy who's exploring his passion and he's curious about what he can do.
Wow. Yes. And with all that with your motivation and your alignment and your awareness, we all have 24 hours in a day. And so one of my favorite ancient principles is divine alignment, is divine timing.
Mhm.
And so share with us how we might say, expand time so that you master time rather than manage time, so you can
Mhm.
truly live your passion and purpose.
That's a wonderful question. What I have learned as a secret to getting things done and getting results and manifesting what you want is to have very clear focus, very clear focus. When people hear my introduction, much like you had given, or they understand I've written over 90 books. I have over 15 music albums that I've recorded. I have hundreds of products that I've recorded. I got my own miracles coaching, which I run, and I travel around the world giving talks to every place that would want me to come and do it. I've been in 30 some movies. And of course, as you know, because you're starring in the movie, I have my own movie coming out. And there's probably other things I'm forgetting right now. I've done strongman training. I've done award ceremonies. I'm doing the mixed martial arts. It's a pretty big and even staggering list if you just say it like I just said it. And you go, oh my God, he never sleeps. How does he get this done? This is impossible. I can never do all of that. But what they're overlooking is with focus, you do one thing at a time. When I'm writing a book, I am writing a book. When I'm done with that book, I may look around and go, okay, it's time for the music album. Then it's the music album. When I'm done with the music album, then it may be a course, an online something or other, or it may be another book or an online product. I don't know, but whatever it is, it'll be focused in order for it to be done. What am I doing right now? I'm focused on promoting our movie. Zero Limits is the most recent creation. So I do have other books out there. I do have other courses out there. I do have music I could be talking about, but focus. And the focus is on the movie. That's what I'm focused on. I find that I don't need more time. I just need to be focused. If I wake up in the morning and I go, okay, today I'm doing back-to-back calls to do interviews to promote Zero Limits, which is what I'm doing today. That's the focus. You do this, and over time, I'm 71, I stop and I turn around and look back, and over time I go, oh my God, I wrote 90 books. Even I'm impressed. I recorded 15 albums. I'm impressed. I'm in 30 movies. I'm impressed. But none of it happens the same day.
Mhm.
And that's what people need to understand. You get up, you have your intention, you focus on it, you do what needs to be done for that day. The next day, you do whatever that day is, which could be a continuation until the project's done. At some point, you move on to the next one. As long as you keep moving forward, time actually takes care of itself, and all these products get done.
Magnificent, magnificent. Thank you so much for that, Joe. And
Mhm.
so, would you say focus is part of the flow of what you're doing? So, you acknowledge at the end of each day your accomplishments to keep that momentum
Oh,
going?
I love it. I love it. That is, you're good. These are great questions because they bring a lot of clarity for people, and it brings a lot of clarity to me to be sure that I answer questions that are the most useful to people. So yes, I believe in the power of intent. So when I'm waking up in the morning, I have the intent. For example, today is doing these interviews, and there's the focus. I'm not being distracted by other things. I will take a break. My dog's going to want to go for a walk. That's part of the focus, and it's part of my exercise. I'll do it. Later tonight, I'm being tested for my orange belt, the next one in my progression in mixed martial arts. I'll be there and I'll be focused for that. After it, when I come back, and this is what I do virtually every day, I get in the hot tub and I'm under the stars. I reflect over the day, and more often than not, I only say two words: thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm reflecting over what took place, kind of fine tuning it in my mind if I wanted anything to go differently. But usually it's more a matter of appreciation that I set out to do these interviews. At the end of the day, I did them. I set out to do my orange belt testing tonight at the martial arts class. I will have done it, and I'll reflect on it, and I'll probably feel proud about it. But more importantly, I will be acknowledging to the divine, thank you for my gift of life. And then thank you to me because I'm using that gift of life to create what I'm hoping is inspiring other people. So,
Yes,
yes, I say thank
yeah. Magnificent. Thank you for expanding on that. So, gratitude is part of the acknowledgement of our accomplishments. So many times, people who are really driven to achieve something don't acknowledge enough their focus of their day, what they
you. Right,
accomplish, because they see beyond what they haven't done yet. And
right.
this is beautiful how you're bringing it all together, that when you say thank you in your hot tub at night, that it's an acknowledgement to yourself and to the divine, that
Yeah,
unity and that harmony
yeah.
where we can relieve the chronic stress
Mhm.
of achieving and of the daily life.
Yeah. Those are great points and great observations. I have learned to acknowledge successes in solid ways. And usually,
Mhm.
what that means is if I finish a project, which could be a book that I've written and it's published and I can hold it in my hands, I reward myself in some way as an acknowledgement of that achievement. In other words, I don't just say, okay, you wrote the book, push it aside and go on. No, I usually get something from myself, and it could, for the longest time, there were guitars. I do love guitars, and very often I would buy a guitar. And it was a very big thing. Like I was in fitness contests for several years, and I won a few medals and I got acknowledgments. So those were big deals. Those were incredibly intensive and took a lot to accomplish. I bought a car at the end of it to acknowledge it because every time I got in the car, it's like, you did this, Joe. You did this. So for me, I have learned that acknowledging your achievement in a 3D hardcore kind of a reward reality is profound. It's good for your self-esteem. Also, subliminally, whenever I look around my office, you can't see everything in my office, but when I look around, I know that all of these things that are in here, there's some guitars here, there's some books, there's some signed rare books. All of those are my reminders of what I've done. And so I'm acknowledging myself for what I've done. That's the self-esteem, that's the self-worth. And most people, if they visited and saw guitars, they would just think, oh, he's got guitars. They wouldn't know the meaning behind that. The other thing that I'm doing, because we mentioned thank you, and we mentioned thank you in the hot tub, I think this is profoundly important, is to thank your connection to divinity. You can call it God, the universe, cosmos, nature. There's all kind of words for infinite intelligence, divine intelligence. I call it the divine. Call the divine and say thank you for all the unseen things we take for granted. That's my body is operating. I'm not telling my heart to beat. I'm not telling my eyes to work. I'm not telling my nose to breathe or lungs to pump. That's all happening. I don't know how it's happening. Some divine something or other set it up in motion and it's working. I also want people to acknowledge, and I take time to acknowledge the things we never think about. Like, I'm not floating out of my chair, and neither are you because of gravity. That's a gift. I'm able to breathe oxygen, and so are you, which we're not paying for. That's a gift. You can see a little bit of looking out my windows here and how beautiful it is. I'm in Northern California, and I didn't set up that scenery. It's a gift. So when I start thinking about the gifts in my life, the gifts in my body and mind, the gifts all around me, the gifts that keep me alive that I don't usually acknowledge, then my thank you becomes profound. That becomes
Wow.
profound. And that also puts me in a divine flow that I think makes life easier, makes me more aware of those divine messages that come in, those assignments we were talking about earlier. So I recognize them and I can act on them because I look at them as, oh, the divine has given me another gift. It wants me to write this book or record this song or make this movie. And so it goes.
Wow, Joe, like I can feel my heart as you're speaking, uh, really truly connecting and joy and divine, that we
Oh, I
have
know.
it in our lives already to
Yes,
do
yes,
exactly as
yes,
you're saying.
yes.
You're reminding us
Yeah,
that we talk about the joy within us, but you just shared with us in such high level mastery of your own daily experience how to cultivate joy and meaning
yeah,
and
yeah.
motivation and purpose in your life.
We've just given a crash course on spiritual success here by all the things you pulled out of me and we've highlighted. So there's a lot people should be taking notes and re-listening to and being grateful for.
Yes, and it also speaks to your message of expect miracles,
Yes.
based on I I read an article about you saying expectation shapes reality,
Yeah.
aligning expectations with practical actions. So this merges with what we're talking about with the flow of divine inspiration.
Mhm.
So we're balancing both intention, expectation with surrender to the divine. Can you speak a little bit about that? That
Well,
balance between I'm just a servant of the divine versus and I create my reality.
yeah. Well, it's both. It's the divine creating reality through you. So you
Yes.
are the divine, and you are separate from the divine as an identity. You have a name, I have a name, and we're in this physical form here. But it's actually the divine living through us and nudging us to create. And what we're creating is a co creation because the divine is helping us do it as we are taking physical action to do it. A great example that comes to mind is my book, Zero Limits, which is where it all began. I wanted to have a movie after I wrote that book, and I wanted to teach Ho'oponopono to the world. But that book, Zero Limits, I essentially didn't write it. I mean, I'm the author, and I was the one sitting at the computer. And yes, I typed all the words and put it all together. But I really felt like the divine was dictating it to me, and I was the stenographer of the sort. And I really want people to understand there's this fine line, there's this little razor's edge of a balance where, yes, I'm the author, I'm doing the writing, but yes, the divine is the one feeding me the lines
Yes.
to put
Yes.
in the book. And I ended up writing Zero Limits in 2 weeks, which was record
Wow.
breaking for me. It's a full length book, but I wrote it in
Mm.
2 weeks and felt like it was a breeze, like I was just
Wow.
getting up every day and writing it. It was similar to a couple of years ago when Bob Proctor, who's another person that was in The Secret, and he influenced me and influenced a lot of other people, but he died. And when he died, I found myself at my computer writing a story about Bob Proctor and how he had been kind to me and how he helped me. I wasn't really thinking about it. I didn't really have it as a goal, but it was kind of coming through me. And I've learned that a secret of the universe is to say yes. So I was sitting down and writing it. I didn't think anything of it. But the next day, I remembered somebody else who had also been kind to me in my life. And I thought, I guess I should write that. And I started writing that. I did that every day for 30 days without me pushing myself to do it. It's more like the divine's inspiring me, and I'm saying yes to the inspiration. And so I'm focused and I'm writing. And at the end of the 30 days, I looked and thought, oh, I think it's a book. I didn't
Wow.
know it was going to be a book. And now it's published. It's called Unexpected Kindness. And
Wow.
unexpected kindness is the same experience. I have to tell the universe thank you because it kind of gave me the idea and wrote the idea, but I was the ventriloquist dummy. That's probably not the right image, but I was the vehicle that the divine was expressing itself through. And I think this story, these couple of stories I just shared, are magnificent in illuminating to people how to live a divine life. You're getting these ideas, you don't judge them, you say yes to them, even when you don't know what's happening or where it's going. Like I didn't know the kindness stories were going to become a book called Unexpected Kindness. I didn't know that. And when I started writing Zero Limits as a book, I just started writing. I didn't know that it'd be done in 2 weeks. I didn't know, my God, it's one of the most beloved books I've ever written in my life. It's also one of the few books I've ever reread that I wrote because I felt like I didn't write it, though it always felt new to me.
Mm.
So these are examples of how to live this spiritually directed life when you're in the world, but not quite of it because you are the spiritual person experiencing it.
Wow. Wow. So focus,
Mm-hmm,
discernment,
mm-hmm,
flow,
mm-hmm.
yes, saying yes to the
Yes.
divine,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude.
Yeah.
Anything, did I miss anything in the key?
You may have said it, but I want to make sure we
Yeah.
hammer it, and that's taking action.
Action,
Because
yes.
a lot of people, and this is the criticism that has been laid out there for a lot of the people who get into the law of attraction or creating their own reality or affirmations or vision boards and all of that is they very often don't take action. They're waiting for things to happen. And they are saying, well, if it's God's will, it'll be so and so. And they sit there. And that was a criticism that was leveled at the movie The Secret, even though I'm in the movie The Secret saying it's your job to take action. But they fogged out because it's real easy for people to be a little bit lazy for one thing, but mostly fearful. Because if they take action, they're probably going to create something. Not
And
taking
be
action,
responsible and be responsible,
and
right?
you have to
To
be responsible for what's
mhm,
appearing and occurring. But
mhm.
that has been the big secret, though, is take action. This is why I have 90 some books and all the other stuff. If I just got an idea and said, oh, cool, thank you for the idea, but didn't go to my computer, I would never be published. We wouldn't be talking about my books. I
And
had
you're talking
action.
inspired action, right? Inspired action.
Um,
So it's easier to act when you're in that divine flow. And then as we evolve in our consciousness, we trust and have
yes,
faith that
yes,
we are supported in those actions. So
yes,
I absolutely agree that humanity is moving off the sofa, into action, as a
right?
collective, and we need great guides like you,
Hmm.
to remind us of our own ancient wisdom and these steps, these elements of it, so that it doesn't seem so daunting, that it's actually natural for us to act in an aligned and inspired way.
Oh, all true, all true. I just know that learning to trust is another biggie. As I mentioned, there were a few times when I got ideas and I just acted, but there was no promise of any conclusion. I didn't know it would be a book. There's times I remember when I was broke and unpublished and unknown, and I was living in a dump in Houston. And I got this idea to start pursuing a guy that everybody had forgotten about. I mean, Bruce Spartan. The name doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't mean anything to anybody listening. And it really didn't mean that much to me, but something in me, the divine planted a seed and said, Joe, go explore this guy. And I'm on a quest. I'm broke. And there's nobody saying this is going to be any sort of payoff, Joe. But yet
Yeah.
I'm following the inspiration. I'm taking inspired action. I'm getting enough money to get on a bus. I go to libraries and do the interlibrary loan thing. Long story short, I end up doing enough research on this forgotten guy named Bruce Barton that I write one of my most beloved books in 1992 called The Seven Lost Secrets of Success. It ended up being a turning point in my life. I did not know it would be a book. I did not know it would be published. I did not know it would be a turning point. I did not know that a big company in Houston would buy 20,000 copies of the book for everybody in their company.
Wow.
I did not know that the book would be republished many years later because I got a name for myself as being in the secret and everybody wanted anything that I did. And my book, The Seven Lost Secrets of Success, was one of the things a big publisher republished. I couldn't foresee any of that. And this is why I tell people when you get the idea, you got to act on it. Don't wait for a guarantee. Don't wait for somebody to say this is how it's going to play out. You don't know. You will learn something in the progress, and it might be a turning point in your entire life. You have to say yes. You have to take the inspired action. You got to be persistent and focused, and just trust that however this unfolds, it's for your highest good. It could be for your highest payday as well, but you don't know that. You just have to do that.
Well, thank you again. This is so valuable
Hmm.
for everyone to hear your experience in achieving these successes. Because when people are starting out, they can sometimes just see that list of all those
Yeah.
accomplishments and think, oh, well, it was, easy for him or something, like it was, he had connections or something like, but you're describing your real experience
Yes.
of connecting with yourself and with the divine, And going forward, with the faith that we're fully supported in everything that we do, and that it's such an inspiring and clarifying message, and your personal experience of it. So thank you so much for all of that.
You are very welcome. You pulled out of me with your great questions and your focused presence as you listened. And I want to thank you for being in the movie. And I want to remind people, please come. Go watch the
Yes.
trailer right now at zerolimitsmovie.com and get all the info. There are a few VIP tickets left. This is June 26th in Sacramento. And I will be there. A large part of the cast will be there. Will you be there?
Oh, yes, yes, I'm coming from
Oh, okay.
Canada.
And you will see another reason for your fans to go. You're going
Yeah.
to be there. Los Angeles Tribune will be there. Photographers will be there. Local media probably will be there. You'll be able to ask questions of me and some of the cast. You'll be able to get your photo taken. But get your tickets. You have to get them in advance and get the VIP ticket preferred to get all the bells and whistles. And go to zerolimitsmovie.com for all of that.
Well, thank you again, Joe. And one quick question, a
Sure.
very quick question. So I'm just going to read it so I don't mess it up. For a second, let's time travel to 2100.
Hmm.
In 2100, it's only 75 years from now. That's when the North Star aligns with the North Pole, and what we call heralding in the next 13,500 years of light, the paradigm of light.
Hmm.
You are in 2100. If you look from 2100 to when Zero Limits movie launched in 2025, what do you see?
The movie triggered an awakening in people. They started to question whether they had any limits or not and started to realize they actually did not. And because they found that they did not have any limits, it made them able to connect to the divine. With the divine working through them, they were able to create superhuman, if not supernatural results. They were able to cure a lot of the problems that have taken place on the planet throughout history. They were able to realign the direction of the populace. Because of the awakening of the people who saw the movie The Secret, they brought up the consciousness of the people who had not seen the movie yet. The movie went on to inspire an entire awakening of planet Earth. And because of this awakening of planet Earth, the divine took over and caused what we've wanted since the beginning of time, which most people would call heaven on earth. It was a complete reawakening, complete cleansing, complete redirection, and a complete ignition of divinity of humankind.
Thank you, Dr. Joe Vitale. Magnificent. Thank you for being on the earth at this time to guide us as a great conscious leader. And I look forward to meeting you in person
Me too.
in
Yes, I will see.
Sacramento,
Mhm.
and continuing to raise the vibration to encourage humanity to live a zero limits life. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're doing great work. Can't wait to see you. Godspeed to all your fans and listeners, and expect miracles.